Welcome in, everybody. Ready to explore Hyrule's deepest secrets. Buckle up, because we're diving headfirst into the lore this time. We're talking straight from the source, Hyrule Historia, ND, the Zelda Encyclopedia. Get ready for some serious aha moments.
And let me tell you, even after all this time exploring Hyrule, prepping for this deep dive blew my mind. These games are so much more than just games.
No kidding. Okay, so we've got centuries of history to unpack here, right? Heroes, gods, monsters, timelines that loop to loop. Where do we even start with something this massive?
Well, both our sources actually highlight this really cool thing. Hyrule's histories isn't just a straight line. It's a cycle, constantly rising and falling, almost like breathing on a huge scale.
Which totally explains those iconic locations we keep seeing, right? No matter how much the map changes, Hyrule Castle is always there. But it's more than just a lazy design choice, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's like Hyrule Castle is a symbol of that whole cycle we're talking about. Founded by the goddess Hylia herself, tied to the creation of the Triforce. So when Ganon rolls in and takes over, you feel that. It's not just the castle falling, it's like hope dying.
And then, bam! You swoop in and save the day. Talk about a power move, but why is there this constant back and forth? Is it just a video game thing? Or do the sources actually explain all this chaos?
They totally do. They point to two big players, the Triforce and our favorite villain, Ganondorf. The Triforce, well, it's ultimate power. There's always going to be someone who wants to misuse it. And that someone is usually Ganon, right? Driven by ambition, revenge, the whole shebang.
So Ganon's that friend who keeps challenging you to Mario Kart even though you always win on Rainbow Road. Some folks never learn. But get this, the Encyclopedia mentions that even the Hylian alphabet changes over time. Talk about dedication to detail. Imagine being a historian in Hyrule trying to decipher all that ancient stuff.
Right. You'd be like a linguistic Indiana Jones,
Yeah.
digging through ruins and temples instead of tombs. That's what I love about these sources. They show how much depth there is to Hyrule. It's not just a backdrop, it's a whole culture.
And speaking of culture, can we talk about the races of Hyrule? I mean, you've got your Hylians, sure, but then you've got Gorons, who are basically living mountains. And the Zora, just chilling underwater like it's no big deal. Hyrule Historia really goes all in on these guys.
It's so cool how each race actually reflects some deeper part of Hyrule itself. Like the Gorons, they're all about strength and resilience, right?
Yeah.
And the Zora have this ancient wisdom. It's like they're pieces of the world's soul.
Don't forget about the Gerudo. Fierce warrior women in a desert fortress, and only one dude is born every 100 years to be their king. Sign me up. But seriously, the way they're designed, all that gold, their whole aesthetic screams desert power. Which makes sense, since Ganondorf is often one of them.
It shows how much thought went into every single thing. From their look to their role in the story, everything's connected in a way you don't see in a lot of games.
And then you have the Hylians, the chosen ones, descendants of the goddess Hylia herself. Those pointy ears aren't just for show either, right? It's like they've got a direct line to the gods. Talk about pressure.
Hyrule Historia says they can literally hear the voices of the gods. Talk about a heavy burden. Imagine having that responsibility.
No kidding. You'd need a vacation after saving Hyrule once with that going on. But for me, the most interesting group has to be the Sheikah. They're like those ninja guardians, always in the shadows, protecting the royal family. What's their deal?
They're literally described as the shadows of the royal family in one of the books. Always working behind the scenes, making sure Hyrule stays safe. They're a great example of how Hyrule always has more going on than you realize.
Which gets me thinking about Link himself. I mean, yeah, green tunic, master sword, the whole hero package. But the sources we're looking at, they make it clear that there's a lot more to him than that.
The really interesting thing about Link is he's not just one person, right? He's more like this archetype. This hero that keeps coming back again and again, destined to face whatever evil pops up in Hyrule.
So each Link we see in a different game. They're all connected by this destiny. It's not just a cool design choice. It's like baked into the lore.
Exactly. It's like this spirit of courage keeps finding a way to show up no matter what.
Which explains the whole green tunic thing. It's like a symbol, right? When people see that, they know this is the guy who's going to save the day. But here's where it gets really cool. The Encyclopedia pointed out that some links are even directly connected. The hero of time from Ocarina. He's left-handed, which is super rare for Hylians.
You're talking about the hero of Twilight.
Bingo! Left-handed, coincidence? I think not it.
They never say outright if those two are actually related. But it does make you wonder. You know, it's like little hints the creators put in there to reward the observant players.
It's like they're saying, we see you paying attention. And speaking of paying attention, Hyrule Historia had all that awesome behind-the-scenes stuff. Did you see that they almost cut Epona from Ocarina of Time.
No way.
Seriously.
Can you imagine?
It's crazy to think about a Zelda game without her, right? She's so iconic. I guess it just shows you that even little decisions in development can completely change how people see a game.
For real. Epona is the OG best friend. But it wasn't just her either. Hyrule Historia had that whole section on early designs, remember? Some of those were wild.
Oh yeah, like Old Man Impa, what was up with that?
It makes you realize how much work goes into these games, like even the stuff that doesn't make it into the final version. It's like getting a sneak peek behind the scenes, right?
Totally. And some of those scrapped ideas, legendary. Remember the Spirit Train from Spirit Tracks? The devs actually wanted to make it Tingle-powered.
Wait, seriously?
The Tingle engine, can you imagine the chaos?
I don't even want to think about the sound effects on that thing. But it's cool, though, you know? Even the crazy ideas tell you something about how they made the game, like they weren't afraid to try new stuff.
Definitely. And that makes me think of something else the sources talked about, the whole mystery surrounding the Triforce. We know it's powerful, everyone wants it, but why? What's it actually for?
It's interesting, right? Because the lore never really spells it out.
It's almost like they're leaving it up to us to decide.
Right. Like the creators are saying, what do you think? What would you do with that kind of power?
Okay, now that is a really good question. It's like they dropped us right into Hyrule and said, all right, you figure it out. So what would you do? Would you chase after the Triforce?
That's the million rupee question, isn't it? Part of me says, heck yeah, ultimate power. But then...
Then you remember what Ganondorf did with it like every other Tuesday.
Exactly. It makes you think about the responsibility that comes with that kind of power, you know? Like, even with the best intentions, things can go so wrong.
It's a tale as old as time. Or as old as Hyrule, at least. So maybe the real treasure isn't actually the Triforce. Maybe it's like the wisdom to know how to use it. Or if you even should use it at all.
Now you're getting it. And that's what's so brilliant about these games. They make you think. They're not just a fun way to pass the time. They spark these really interesting conversations.
Which is a perfect place to wrap things up, don't you think?
Yeah.
We've dug into Hyrule's history, met its people, uncovered secrets. But the adventure doesn't really end there, does it? It keeps going in your head long after you put the controller down.
You said it. So until next time, keep exploring, keep those brains buzzing, and most importantly, keep on discovering those aha moments in Hyrule.